Please take a moment to review the disclaimer on the screen before we dive into the video. There's an old idea in business, one that gets repeated a lot, that the hardest workers win. And hard work matters. It really does. But here's something worth considering. Where you're working matters just as much as how hard you're working, because you can be the hardest worker in the room and still stay in place if the current is running against you. In business, we talk about tailwinds and headwinds. A headwind is anything working against you: a shrinking market, a technology your customers have moved away from, a competitive environment that's gotten more crowded. These are the forces that make every step feel harder than it should be. A tailwind is the opposite. It's an external force already moving in your direction, a shift in the market, an emerging technology, a gap a competitor just left open. When you're in a tailwind, the environment is helping carry your efforts forward. The goal isn't to avoid hard work. The goal is to direct that effort toward where the wind is already blowing. Think of it like surfing. A surfer doesn't create the wave. They rid the ocean, position themselves ahead of where the energy is building, and then, when the moment arrives, they're already in the right place to ride it. The skill isn't just paddling hard. The skill is reading the water. For a business, that means paying attention to what's shifting in your industry, where customer demand is building, where technology is opening new doors, where competitors may be pulling back. Then asking, are our capabilities lined up with where that wave is going? This mental model has roots in strategic thinking frameworks used across business literature. The idea that sustainable advantage often comes less from effort alone and more from positioning. Here's a practical tool to bring this into your business: the Leverage Audit. Once a quarter, set aside some time, even 30 minutes, and ask 2 questions. 1. What are we doing right now that feels like a constant struggle? Where does progress feel slow? Where are resources getting drained? Where does success feel like it requires twice the effort it should? These are your headwinds. Flag them. They deserve a hard look. 2. Where are we seeing easier traction? What's getting responses? What's customers coming toward us? What feels like less friction than usual? These signals, however small, often point toward a tailwind. The Leverage Audit isn't about chasing every trend. It's about building the habit of noticing, so that strategic decisions get made with more awareness of the forces in play. Here's something that often gets overlooked. Some of the clearest tailwind signals don't come from market research reports. They come from the people closest to the customer. Employees on the front line, the ones having daily conversations, handling the questions, processing the friction, often notice shifts before leadership does. A pattern in what customers keep asking for, a competitor that keeps coming up in conversation, a gap that no one seems to be filling. That kind of boots-on-the-ground perspective is a real strategic asset when there are channels for it to surface. So part of spotting tailwinds is also asking, how does what our team is hearing every day find its way into how we make decisions? Before we close, here are 2 questions worth sitting with. First, think about your business right now. Is there one area that consistently feels like a struggle? Something requiring more effort than it seems to return? That's worth naming as a potential headwind. Second, where are the people closest to your customers? And how does what they're observing reach the people making strategic decisions? There are no single right answers here. These are starting points for a conversation.